Hello and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. Sorry there was no Monday vibes this week. I was in Germany, so we didn't have the people available to do it. But Continental Club is back, the first video of the week, joined by Henry Hill and Mikey McCubbin. Henry, how are you this afternoon?
Yeah, real good, real good. I mean, to be honest, Deeks, the most exciting news is from you, really. How was your first Bundesliga game?
I love the Bundesliga. I loved the sausage in the stands. I loved the potato in the bar, the buffets.
That's no way to call Roy Mackay.
Met Roy Mackay, accidentally held hands with Roy Mackay, which was slightly awkward. And just generally had a really good time. I mean, Bayer Leverkusen Dortmund was an excellent game. We'll actually come on to it later, or briefly mention it later, because we were all wrong in our big match predictions. Finished 1-1, but highly entertaining. Leverkusen were by far the better side. And then we listened to a talk from the CEO of Bayer Leverkusen. Roy Mackay did a talk, and just general Bundesliga, sort of people that work for the Bundesliga as well. And it was a fantastic weekend.
Lovely.
Enjoyed it. How are you, Mikey?
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah?
Not too bad. Me and Henry were down filming in Southampton yesterday, so a bit less glamorous. But
I don't know. Che Adams, Adam Armstrong.
Yeah, less glamorous than Roy Mackay, let's face it. But
very nice training ground.
Yeah, very nice training ground and nice
Good vibes
lads.
there. They're on quite a good run.
Yeah, they're decent. Yeah, I mean, everyone at Southampton was lovely. From the players to the guy who showed us in. Very very nice kind of. Yeah, despite its size, it just still feels like a very family club. So that was nice. But yeah, just quite cold down there on the south coast.
Freezing.
Cold.
Henry, did you keep warm?
No, I think I almost had a bath when I got home.
You almost had one.
You got a leg in.
I ran it. Before. Not for me. Not for me. This one. Just a quick, to prove that I'm still following European football. Thiago Almada, the Atlanta player, baller as they call it. 12 goals, 16 assists last year in the MLS. 4 caps and a goal for Argentina. 21. He said yesterday he wants to come to Europe. He wants to come to Europe now in January.
And are you thinking Fulham?
No. I'd take him in a heartbeat, but we couldn't afford him.
Yeah.
They paid like 15 million for him anyway.
Could sign
Something. I think
like
certainly. Yes, I think he was actually. And he was like the big example of the MLS buying players from South America, like competing with Europe and becoming an ultimate stopover for young players. And now he's obviously quite clearly ready to make the jump to Europe. And I think that's going to be super exciting. Like Inter, Juve. I don't know. I mean, realistically, he'd cost like 35, 40, max 40. Would you pay 40 for €1 million for a player at the MLS? I'm not sure. But it's still...
I mean, Newcastle paid like £20 million for Almiron.
That was a few years ago.
4 or 5 years ago, yeah.
And it took a while for it to work, but it was working well, Almiron.
Yeah, it is working well. So anyway, that's a super exciting transfer.
It's interesting actually you say about that, because I think he was one of the suggestions for today's video, but we haven't. It was, I don't know, I saw it and I was like, it's not really, I don't know if it fits the theme as much in terms of what we're going for here.
They would probably hold on to him if they could. They wouldn't
they wouldn't want to set. Well, I don't know, if they get enough money for him, I think they would.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, McCubbs has led into it very nicely there, because we're getting into our January content, guys. It's December now. We're talking about the players your club needs to sell in January. Now, some people, as McCubbs said, took the other angle that it's the perfect time to sell because they've had a good start to the season. But most of the inclusions are, suggested by you because they're not playing particularly well, according to your opinions. Now, we have disagreed in some of these examples, I think, at least in some of the ones that I prepared for. But Henry, let's kick off with Bobby's series of number suggestion, which was Raphinha.
Yeah, interesting one. We spoke about him last week, so I won't repeat it too much. He's sort of in no man's land a little bit at Barcelona at the moment. I mean, he is a great player, and actually his numbers were a lot better than I actually thought. 12 goals, 16 assists in 64 games for the club since he was bought from Leeds. When was it? July 2022. Around £50 million. It was a sizable fee, but I think considering Arsenal were very interested at the time, I think you sort of looked at it and thought, sure, fair enough. And I remember he scored very early on a really exciting goal, I think maybe in pre-season, and we were all getting quite excited about it. But yeah, 0.4 goals and assists in his time at the club per 90 is pretty good. It's pretty good. But this season it's sort of drying up a little bit. 2 goals, 4 assists in 14 games. I mean, none of the attack is really flying, so I think it's more of an indicative problem of the actual team in general. We talked about Lewandowski's struggles last week. Ferran Torres has dipped in and out of form, as has João Felix as well. So I'm not going to blame Raphinha too much. I do think when he's played, he's been pretty effective. And, 4.3 shots per game is pretty decent. 3.2 chances created, that's the most in the squad. So really, when you look at his numbers, you do think this is someone that should almost be a guarantee to be starting in that lineup. I just think that the Barcelona midfield or forward line in general is just suffering from a lack of consistency with the fitness and the availability of their players, because they're just having to chop and change a lot. And it is difficult to create momentum, even the best teams, when your starting lineup is changing every week. We're even seeing that with Man City at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
3 draws in a row. People concerned about their depth. It's just because the same players are either having to play a lot or they're having to play in various players out of position, and it's just that does take its toll on the side. So it's an interesting one. The thing is with Raphinha, and the argument for selling him is he is a sellable asset that they have. They could still command. I think if you were going to sell him or Ferran Torres, you could get more for Raphinha.
Definitely.
He's a Brazilian international. I think he's certainly the first option off the bench, if not a starter for that Brazilian side. I mean, I imagine Rodrigo and Vinicius would start on the wings. Then it's probably him. I'd have him over Antony every day of the week. And I think there are still, considering he's still pretty young, 24 is it at the moment?
Arsenal, sell him back to Arsenal.
26 years old. Yeah, Arsenal would definitely look at him because they enjoy stocking their forward line. I don't know. I mean, Liverpool seems to be constantly linked with another attacker. Would Borussia Dortmund, have they still got money available from the Bellingham sale to go after? The talk of them moving for Jadon Sancho. Would they go for a bit more of maybe a bit more exciting option at this moment in time in Raphinha? So they would be able, I think, to find a club, find a buy if they were to sell him. And let's face it, they didn't really have any money to spend in the summer on permanent players. If they have ambitions of making João Felix's transfer permanent, I still think Atletico will ask for a lot of money, considering they managed to extend his contract again before they sold him on. So yeah, they will need to find some cash at some point, and maybe Raphinha is the lever they need to pull in this instance to do that. But at the same time, I think he's one of the best players in their squads when available, when fit, when given sort of a loving arm around his shoulders, because I think he is a bit of a confidence player. I think we're beginning to see that more and more. So yeah, I wouldn't sell him from a playing perspective, but I would maybe consider selling him financially if they're looking to create funds to bulk out the rest of the squad.
Interesting. I just don't think they can afford to, because their forward line is already so thin. I mean, after Ousmane Dembele's gone, João Felix is only there on loan. As you say, I don't think they're going to be able to get him permanently. And their other right winger is only 16.
Yeah,
and it's too risky to just guarantee that he's going to carry on in this upward trajectory. He'll probably have dips in the next 3-4 years as he continues to adapt to senior football. Ansu Fati, will he be there next year? I'm not quite sure. He's now injured at Brighton. So it doesn't feel like they've got a lot of options, and Lewandowski's already quite old. They'll probably need to sign another striker. They do have Vitor Roque arriving, but what's the future of Ferran Torres? I just think it's too risky to get rid of Raphinha, and I kind of agree with you. Under the bonnet, his stats are doing really, really well this season, but he's just been more inconsistent, and he's more of an individualist than I think a lot of those Barcelona forwards, which always counts against it. Right, I'm going to move on to Henry Hendo's suggestion of Gianluigi Donnarumma. Now, the 24-year-old is now in his 3rd season with PSG. He obviously shared minutes with Keylor Navas in his first campaign, but he has been the regular in the last 2. He actually hasn't missed a single game in the last season and a half in Liga. His save percentage last year, 76%, 4th in France. Not bad at all, prevented 4.3 XG. This year, similar sort of story. I think he's 2nd for save percentage behind Nice's Martin Bulka, who's having an excellent campaign under Nicolo Farioli, who nearly went to Sunderland in the summer, is now at Nice. It's a real shame because we've just sacked Tony Mowbray, but that's a discussion for another day. Donnarumma's been fine in the league. I don't think anyone has a concern about that. But actually in the Champions League, particularly in the last year, at least in the last calendar year, I think he's made a number of notable errors. There was that against Real Madrid. I think he was tackled by Vinicius Jr., dawdling in possession, led to Benzema scoring. Even against Newcastle in their last game, sort of parrying, I should say, Almiron's shot into the path of Alexander Isak, who then taps in for that sort of goal that put them under so much pressure in that game. There's now a big debate in Italy. I was speaking to an Italian journalist over the weekend, and he was saying that there's a big movement now for Vicario, which Henry also talked about a couple of weeks ago as well, to start over Donnarumma. Is he now better in possession, potentially, than Donnarumma? Potentially. Is Donnarumma also behind where I thought he'd be in terms of his development? Yes, but PSG, do they want to sell Donnarumma in January? I just think it's a problem for another day, or even if it is a problem that you sort of deal with by selling him, because he's on €8 million per year. He's on a huge, huge salary. And it's just, do you want to be sorting out a goalkeeping issue in January? I just don't think that's really the case. The interesting thing is Martin Bulker, the Nice goalkeeper that I was talking about, he was on PSG's books a few years ago. And then went on loan to a number of clubs, including Nice, and then was signed permanently. So Donnarumma, definitely one to keep an eye on, but I would not sell him at the moment.
His red card at the weekend was pretty funny.
Should have said.
Yeah. He is definitely missing the next game.
Karate chopping.
It was a real Wayne Hennessy kind of vibes from the World Cup. And apparently I saw Euro experts saying that whoever came on, I can't remember who the substitute keeper was really good. Apparently he was really good.
He was being mobbed at the end at full time by all his teammates. Again, can't remember the name. Should have that down. Anyway, but yeah, he'll be spending a little bit of time reflecting Donnarumma. Right, McCubs, let's move on to Leon Goretzka.
Yes.
Now, of the three, I think this is probably the most mental.
The most, I think so. Yeah. This comes from at Sweekar Neupain. Sorry if I what's your name there?
Regular.
How do you normally say his name?
I don't know, but he is a regular.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
So apologies about butchering your name there. I was kind of going to and fro on this because obviously I think this comes a little bit from the end of last season with Leon Goretzka. He had a bit of a dip in form last season. Tuchel was quite critical of his performances towards the end of 22-23. Of course, Bayern were pretty inconsistent in general in those final 6 months. Obviously, Nagelsmann left the club. Tuchel came in for that last 2-month period. And for the first time in a long time, it felt like that Goretzka-Kimmich partnership was really under threat. Obviously, Konrad Laimer was already set to join that summer. They pushed hard for Joao Palhinha, and that fell through, at the final hour when just, as a result of Fulham not being able to find a replacement for him. And that Joao Palhinha chat has still continued despite him signing that new contract with Fulham. So, I think Bayern fans probably have reason to believe that, Goretzka's position long term is not safe. But at the same time, I think he's had a much better season so far this year. First of all, he scored crucial goals against Leverkusen and Mainz in the league in what is going to be a really, really tough title challenge for Bayern. And second of all, a little bit like with what you were saying with Raphinha, Dukes, I just don't think Bayern really have the cover for him, especially given that he's also had to deputise at centre-back on a couple of occasions this season. Did so last week against Copenhagen in that 1-0 draw in the Champions League. Did so in their first game in the DFB Pokal. They're now out now, but he actually missed that second game with his, I think it's a broken hand he's got. So he's been playing with, I think he played the last game with a cast on. So a real trooper, Goretzka, as you'd expect, one of the most kind of physically domineering players in that Bayern team, and a box-to-box midfielder by trade. The goal and assist numbers probably haven't been there for a couple of years now, but him and Kimmich are still the number one pair at Bayern in terms of that midfield. I don't really see it, especially given that De Ligt is out until January with injury, isn't he? Their other depth option at centre-back is 18-year-old Tarek Buchmann, who was only brought into the first team kind of picture this year. Still hasn't played yet, but he's out till February with an injury. I think he's just made 2 appearances for the B team, I believe, this season. So they are short at centre-back. Konrad Laimer's had to deputise at right-back as well. I think almost half his minutes have been at right-back. And Bounissar was not getting any minutes, but he's now out till beyond the end of the season anyway. So I feel like Laimer and Mazraoui are going to be splitting minutes a lot more, or as much as they already have been until the end of the season. So in terms of their midfield options, they don't have an awful lot. And I think it's evident why Goretzka's kept his place. Tuchel's been really complimentary of him recently, and Goretzka himself has come out and said that he felt like he reacted well to Tuchel's criticism. He saw it as a constructive thing rather than him being thrown under the bus. I just don't see a logic to selling Goretzka in January, even though he's 28 now. He still has a good market value. I think that would be my only thing. Maybe next summer, if Bayern were to sign Palhinha in January, although they are going to face competition apparently, because the Telegraph were reporting this week that at least 2 Premier League clubs are also interested in him. Arsenal and Liverpool are the clubs rumoured. Obviously, Liverpool do need a defensive midfielder. Arsenal have been for a very long time now very keen on just upgrading their depth. And that would potentially give Declan Rice a more free role if Arteta was thinking about that, although I don't think that's really an issue for them. But nevertheless...
Havertz on this form.
Yeah, exactly. But
Henry's friend.
Yeah, Henry
Mr.
Tanya.
Havertz.
Mr. Havertz to you. Mr. Kai, don't you call him? Master Kai. But I do kind of feel like if there was an offer on the table from a big elite Premier League club, I do kind of feel like Palhinha would potentially be more tempted to stay, just because he doesn't have to. There's less life upheaval.
Do you not think
with
that
staying in the Premier League?
That emotional, because it was that whole him not moving to Bayern, it was all quite emotional for him. How much they treated him, how much he respects the club, loves it. I feel like push comes to shove, he's still joining Bayern Munich. I know what you're saying. He's still joining Bayern Munich.
No, of course. I'm not saying that a move to Bayern wouldn't be good for him, but situations change, don't you? Like, don't they? Like, I don't think footballers are necessarily tied to one club just because they almost signed for them 6 months ago. Like, if a better offer, if another club comes in and offers him more money, and it's like, oh yeah, I don't have to, I could still live in London potentially for a while. That is a possibility, and Arsenal or Liverpool, for example, would potentially be able to offer him better money. But that's conjecture. We don't know exactly what's going on there. What we do know is that they have secured the signing, according to Fabrizio Romano, of Granada midfielder Brian Zaragoza, who's had a great season so far. Got that brace against Barcelona. He's a bit more of an attacking midfielder.
Brilliant name as well.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant name.
So good.
15 million euros apparently, but he won't join until the summer. But he does look like a really exciting prospect, although very much an attacking midfielder. I don't know whether he'd be more suited to playing in the kind of 10 role, but equally, if they want someone who can kind of upgrade the goals from a kind of box-to-box perspective, maybe he is the answer, and maybe that's what they're looking to do. Maybe they are looking to phase Goretzka out eventually, because like I said, he's not getting any younger. He's still in good physical shape, but given that they signed him for free back in 2018, if they were able to get 30-40 million euros for him, I think that would be a pretty a good return on their investment, given what he's given to them over the years, and given that Tuchel, although he's very complimentary of him now, from quite early on was not so sure about him. So that's how I could see things playing out if Bayern were to sell him. But I think, again, at this moment in time, a bit like Barcelona, in a title race, they don't have the most depth in that area, and he's being used to cover centre back. So I think his versatility is really, really key for them at the moment. Selling him in January would be silly. Also, I don't know who comes in for him at that point.
Interesting. Our first maybe sale of the day. Henry, do we have another maybe sale with Kane Lorenz's suggestion of Lucas Vazquez?
No. Well, I mean...
Is this just an age thing?
It's just not a transfer that... No one's going to buy him. He's 32 years old. I mean, he could go to he wouldn't move... Well, he could move to something like Sevilla. It'd be very like Sevilla to go and get him. But at the end of the day, we're talking about essentially a one-club man. Came through the academy, has 1 year on loan at Espanyol in 2014-15. His entire club career since has been spent at Real Madrid. And to be fair, at points he's been very, very good. Even last season, he got 4 goals, 1 assist in 23 league appearances with basically only 10 starts. And that's kind of that right wing back and right wing, isn't it? Because that's where he fills in. He's just...
Anywhere on that right.
He's just an ultimate cover. Basically half of his 227 appearances in La Liga have been sub-appearances.
That's crazy that he's only made 227 appearances. I mean, he's just been there for so long, but such a bit part player.
And also about 150 of those have been at right back as well, I imagine.
Yeah. I mean, this season he's the 4th least used player in their squad. 215 minutes, but I think 1 start, 10 sub-appearances. I think that's just his role. He's just someone that comes off the bench. He understands the club, whatever. They lost Benzema. I know some people get annoyed at that phrase. And the only thing is, like, Carvajal's the other right back, neither of whom are getting any younger.
Carvajal's having a good season.
Carvajal's having a good season. So, no, I don't think you should sell Vazquez. I don't think you're going to get anyone who's going to pay any money for him. The other thing is, he's on 180 grand a week in euros.
He's loving it.
He's not moving. He's just going to see out his contract there. And even after that, I imagine I could see him taking a pay cut just to stay on longer. He's just part of the furniture at Real Madrid. You're not shifting him. So, yeah, I can see why. He's never been the most classy of players, but I think he's actually... I think he will go down as one of those like B tier Real Madrid legends just because of his longevity.
Yeah. Maybe C or
and sort
D
of
tier,
use. Pardon?
Maybe C or D tier.
I don't even know.
He played quite a big role in like some Champions League winning
But a B
teams.
tier legend is surely someone that was just very
you don't know
good,
how
but
you don't know
not
how
a legend
big.
like
Where would
Sami
you put
Khedira or
Guti?
something.
Where would you put Guti, for example?
B tier.
B tier.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd put Vazquez on the level of Guti actually.
All right.
If an A tier is like Benzema, Zidane, Modric.
C tier.
yeah.
We'll go C tier.
C tier.
Where what tier of legends do you think Vazquez is?
Let's
at
do
Real
a
Madrid?
got a
tier
new
list.
title
Let's
for the
do
video.
a tier list.
So good. But
We
yeah,
rank Lucas Vazquez's Real Madrid career.
honestly, watch the views roll in on that one. But yeah, I don't think you're selling him. What's the point? Just keep him around.
Yeah, fair enough. He is like, I kind of respect someone that in an ego-filled dressing room is just quite happy to do that role. It's a bit like Nacho. Like Nacho is probably a C tier legend as well. Like just
He's
always
not-
around.
He's
No,
not
Vazquez.
started.
He's not Vazquez level, Nacho. Sorry.
No, he's not.
Really?
No, he's
Nacho
not.
for me is a much more important player of the last few years than Vazquez.
I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Vazquez really did like solve that right back issue for
Nacho
like
has
quite a
filled
long
in
time.
all over
I'm
the
not,
back
no disrespect to Nacho, but I just think, I just feel like Vazquez, but Nacho was never like a regular for as consistent
For
time
all
as
his,
Vazquez. Maybe I
don't
got
know.
that wrong.
for all I said
Guys,
about some
stop-
appearances, his minutes have been pretty high until essentially last season. Vazquez.
Fair enough. I mean, I need to have a look at Nacho's minutes, but I'm pretty sure there are a lot more than Vazquez in at least in the last two. Real Madrid
Yeah, fair
fans, who do you prefer, Vazquez or Nacho? Get your reasoning in the comments down below. Those comment sections could be absolutely electric after this.
Yeah.
Right, let's talk Carlos Soler. This comes in from Richard PSG. This is a shame, I think, because he's only 26 years old, but he signed on deadline day in September 2022 for 18 million euros. And he signed in the same summer that Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz and Renato Sanchez had already gone there. They still had Verratti. They still had Danilo Pereira. It was just the wrong club to join if you're Carlos Soler. Like, he was a perfectly good player at Valencia. He was one of La Liga's sort of best central midfielders, sort of attacking midfielders outside of the big three, was breaking into the Spain squad, was playing quite regularly for Spain, and then he just chose the wrong club. It was just poorly advised. Like, financially, I'm sure he's on a great wage, and he actually hasn't been terrible in the minutes he has played. He's got 7 goals and 6 assists in 46 games in all competitions for PSG, most of those from the bench. There was a little run last year where he played quite regularly and he contributed 2 goals against Strasbourg in the league and 1 against Reims. That was a nice little run. But other than that, he's not really been used. He's been on the bench for every single PSG game in the Champions League this season. Hasn't got a single minute in the Champions League. And for a guy that I think got 19 league goal contributions in his final year at Valencia, 16 the year before that, a lot of those are penalties, but still, like, he had a better option, surely. Well, not a better option financially, but surely a better option to go play football more regularly somewhere else or stay at Valencia. I know Valencia probably needed to sell him financially, but I think this is just a bit of a sad one. Do I see PSG selling him in January? Much more likely than Donnarumma, that's for sure. Aston Villa have been linked with him, which is quite random. And Villa have quite a few central midfield options now as well. What with McGinn, Tielemans, and then obviously Camara and Douglas Luiz as well. Maybe if Douglas Luiz gets sold, but then they're quite a different profile. So it's going to be an interesting one. I think he'll probably move next summer, but I don't know whether he'll move in January. Right, McCubbs, let's do these next few quite quickly. Philip Kostic came in for United today.
Yeah, I don't get this one at all. He's played more minutes than Vlahovic and Danilo. He's got the joint most assists in the squad. In fact, he's got his expected assists per 90 is the best by far in all of Serie A. I think DiMarco at Inter is behind him. So he's got like 0.46 expected assists per 90, which is that's almost KDB levels. And DiMarco's next on 0.32. He's creating more chances than anyone else in the Juve squad. He even like in terms of his like build up, he's like producing more progressive passes than anyone bar Danilo, and I think Locatelli, who would be the obvious choice there in terms of the orchestrator of that midfield. So I'm not really sure where this is coming from, and I think the guy sending it in is a United fan, so I don't know whether there's some hope there of a creator, because United do need a creator. But yeah, I'm not really sure what has sparked this aside from Juve. There being reports that Juve were open to selling him in the summer to raise funds. But I think, when he joined Juve from Frankfurt, we were all pretty excited, weren't we? He was one of the best creators in Germany. I think at the time when he was at Frankfurt, he was probably the most consistent left wing back in an attacking sense, maybe in Europe. And it took him a little while to get going, but I think he ended the last season really, really strongly. Mm-hmm. He started this season, I think, really, really strongly as well, and he's part of a Juve side who have a legitimate title challenge now. Still think Inter will win it. I think by most metrics they are a significantly better side, but someone like Filip Kostic is really, really crucial to this Juve side doing well. Even on the weekend, his ball into the box from 45, 50 yards led to the penalty that Vlahovic then didn't score, but nevertheless then led to the goal that they scored from the resulting corner. He's really, really important to the way that this Juve team plays, and I think without him, actually, I don't think Juve would have had this kind of mini revival that they've had under Allegri. No way they should sell him, and I don't think they should even think about selling him even next summer.
Who really impressed me in that game's highlights? Adrian Rabiot.
Yeah, man.
He's been so good since the start of last year for Juve. I think he's been absolutely brilliant. Right, let's do maybe two more. Husam Aouar came in from the bad guy 14, Henry.
Yeah, I feel bad. Not many of these suggestions I would sell. And Aouar, again,
came in on a free.
He was a free transfer, and they got him in the summer. I think the problem for him in that three-man midfield is that Mourinho likes physicality. And when you compare him to some of the other guys, Paredes, Brian Cristante, who he's loved this year, he's most used player in the Roma squad, they all have high defensive numbers, as does Eduardo Bove, who's a 21-year-old Roma Academy graduate. And you can see, I think it's quite smart playing him. He's a nice connection to the fans, the way that Lorenzo Pellegrini, who's been injured a lot this season, he's also going to be a stumbling block to Aouar's minutes in that side. For context, Aouar ranks 15th in the squad for minutes so far, 2 goals in the league this season. But yeah, Bove, although Aouar's key passes are high, compared to Bove, for example, Bove has more passes into the final third. He's more progressive with his passes, and his tackle numbers, interception numbers, and block numbers are all higher than him too. And Bove's got 2 assists. So he's enjoying using Bove. He's loving Cristante. Paredes is enjoying something of a mini revival. And things are going well for Roma in the league, certainly at the moment. They're not going to want to upset that too much. The other issue is that Pellegrini, when he is fit, will play further forward. He'll play in that kind of slightly more advanced, over Aouar. But I don't think it's bad to have Aouar in the squad at this moment in time. And I think that there will be points where Pellegrini and Cristante are rested a lot more. Then I imagine we'll see him more. His other problem is he has featured a lot in the Europa League, where he came in for heavy criticism in the last game, where they drew against Servette at home, or it might have been away, I'm not sure. But the point was they needed to win because Slavia Praha are top of the group. Slavia, all they have to do is draw their next game against Servette to win the group, and that means Roma then have to face a team dropping out of the Champions League, which makes, and they want that European. There's no guarantee they'll qualify top 4 in Serie A. So they'll want to use the Europa League as a potential get-in, especially after they came so close last year. So yeah, Aouar's performance against Servette was really criticised. So maybe Mourinho's just going, well, he's quite a stubborn bloke. He doesn't like to change things for changing's sake, does he? So if he's liking the midfield he's got out so far, he's going to keep it. Just quickly, at Bananitos, Borja Iglesias, that is something I think, yes, sell. I think at this point the Panda's time in the Panda's time at Betis is done. Dropped off already. That said, only last year he was a Spanish international, hitting 14, 15.
Yeah.
So that
last year was the second best year of his career. It is mad his drop off. Pellegrini just hasn't fancied him this year. He has been panned by Betis fans, at least ones I've seen online. He hasn't managed a shot on target this season, so that's pretty depressing.
Fulham, Wolves, any low-level Premier League club, I think would definitely look at Iglesias as a short-term fix to their striking problems.
Love it. Finally, just quickly to mention Steven Bergwijn. Again, I don't think this is a good idea. I mean, he's one of the most experienced players in Ajax's squad. Of their 11 most used players, 7 are 21 or under. They are a team of children this season, so I wouldn't get rid of him. Yeah, he hasn't been as good as last year, and is he really an elite talent? Probably not, but I think he's very good. He's good enough for Ajax at the moment, for sure. So, guys, those are our answers to players that you thought should be sold in January. We actually didn't agree with too many of them, but let us know whether we missed anyone out in the comments down below. And let's move on to big match predictions. Okay, just reviewing last week's action. So Bayer Leverkusen versus Dortmund. We all backed Leverkusen for heavy wins. It was 1-1, no points to any of us. Napoli versus Inter Milan. My Cubs backed Napoli. Henry went with the draw. I backed Inter Milan, but I didn't see the 3-0 coming, so just 1 point to me. Barcelona versus Atleti. McCubbin said a draw. Henry said 1-0 Atleti. I said 2-1 Atleti. It was 1-0 to Barcelona. João Félix. Alex. No points to any of us. So, not a good week for us, actually.
I think that's no points for me for 3 weeks in a row now.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so the scores going into this week. McCubbin's on 22. I'm on 17. Henry on 8. Scoreless in 3 weeks, according to him. Right, let's do these quite quickly. Juventus versus Napoli. Friday, 7:45 p.m. Second versus fifth. There's 9 points between the McCubs. Juve they're still on for a title challenge.
Yeah.
Just.
Managed to finally break the hoodoo against Monza yesterday. Yesterday on the weekend. Like you were saying, Dukes, Adrian Rabiot is just having another absolutely amazing season. Scored that brilliant header after Vlahovic somehow managed to miss essentially 2 penalties. Had the first one saved, and then a great save from the rebound, but he got to put that away. Great header from the resulting corner from Rabiot to open the scoring. Then Monza pulled one back in the 91st minute, and then he showed great determination to break through and set up Federico Gatti for the winner in the dying seconds. So just about still on Inter's tails. 2 goals and 3 assists this season, which I don't know whether he'll match his 8 goals and 4 assists from last year, but that was still an amazing output from him. He's having another great season. He really is Allegri's man. Only Bremer's played more minutes than him. Juve, they're 2 points off Inter. Their goal difference is a lot worse. I think, once again, they just don't really score enough. And I know Milan won the title a couple of years ago without being the most exciting attacking team, but it's rare really in Serie A for a team that is limited going forward, especially when Vlahovic, top scorer on 5, is leading the line. We're still yet to see him really put up the kind of performances that we saw from Fiorentina on a consistent basis. 5 teams have outscored them. That doesn't scream to me a title, a real title favourite there. But nevertheless, did we expect Juve to be 2 points off the top spot at this point in the season? No. Some people, I think I'm not even sure if I put them in the top 4. Serie A is that competitive now, and Juve's drop off was, has been fairly dramatic in terms of where they were 4 years ago. Having said that, I still think they probably go into this at home as slight favourites over Napoli. Napoli, but I think Napoli fans were maybe felt a bit unfortunate to have lost 3-0 to Inter on the weekend, because they did force some great saves from Jan Sommer.
That Barella goal.
Oh my God, the Barella goal. The Barella goal was so good.
Even the Çalhanoğlu goal was...
The Çalhanoğlu goal was amazing. Well. And I think, in a similar way to I think you've got to give a lot of credit to Allegri for turning Rabiot's career around. You've really got to give a lot of credit to Inzaghi for the way that he's transformed Çalhanoğlu into this deep-lying midfielder. And although Çalhanoğlu does have limitations to his game, his ball striking ability,
it's always been excellent.
It is excellent. It really is second to none. One of the best ball strikers in Italy, absolutely. What a goal! But the Barella goal, I saw that and I was just man, Newcastle almost signed him in the summer. Imagine if that had happened. That would have been crazy. That is an Italian midfielder you would have got behind going to Newcastle, wasn't it? Rather than Tonali. But anyway, Barella is just absolutely class. But at the same time, Jan Sommer played his part. Was forced into a good save from Elmas from distance. Politano also hit the bar. Kvicha in the second half forced a decent save out of him as well. But having said that, they just didn't create enough. I think their XG difference this season is still the second best in the league. Third best in the league, Napoli. So I think, like, you know, the Rudy Garcia appointment wasn't the right one. You know, they've received a lot of stick this year for not being anywhere near the level of last year, but we kind of expected that after Spalletti left for there to be a drop off. I don't think any of us, you know, had them down to win the league. I think a top 4 finish for Napoli this season is a success, and they are in with the shout of it, very much so. They're only leapfrogged into 4th position by Roma, who have of course been in great form recently, but I kind of back Roma to drop off at some point again. Like, that's kind of been their story under Mourinho. So I'm not like, I think basically, I mean, Napoli in general, I'm not too worried about them. I still think they'll probably finish in the top 4.
Mm-hmm.
But in this game, I think Juve's superior defence will tell. I think it will be 1-0 to Juve.
1-0, Henry.
Yeah, I'll go 2-1. Yeah, Jan Sommer, by the way, he's having an amazing season.
Yeah,
and they love him. They love him at Inter. He's on like 85% save rate. Yeah, I just worry about Napoli. Once they go behind, I don't think they're not showing much fight at the moment. So yeah, I'll go 2-1 to Juve.
Fair. I might back the draw. I think 1-1. Right, let's move on to the Bundesliga. Big game between Dortmund and RB Leipzig, Saturday 5:30 p.m. 5th versus 4th. There's 1 point between them. Henry, how do you see this going?
It's quite hard to predict with Dortmund, isn't it? Like, you don't know. I actually like the performance against Bayer Leverkusen in the sense that they were under the cosh and they still managed to walk away from a point, and they almost managed to win it at the end. Like, you're almost back Füllkrug to put that header away, given the kind of striker he is. But yeah, I mean, they should have lost to Leverkusen, but they still managed to. It was a kind of performance we don't often see under Terzic. It's normally out and out sort of blazing glory or just misery. So yeah, fair play to them. They're in pretty good form. Leipzig do have their number in most days. Like, if you line up those two squads next to each other, I would almost choose Leipzig still.
Yeah, I would as well.
And yeah, I mean, they've won 4 of the last 5 meetings. And if you look at like some of the injuries, Ben Sebaini, Sula out for Dortmund, that's not great. Haller, he's obviously missing, and Mecha too. So tricky. I'm gonna back Leipzig here. Beat Heidenheim at the weekend. I'm surprised they're not higher in the table than they are. They seem to be prone to a bit of a clang at the moment, but they do have a striker in Openda who's banging form. And yeah, like, I think they need to like pick up their season at some point too. Xavi Simons, what a player he's been. Some of his goals, certainly in the Champions League, have just been beautiful this season. I will go. I guess it is at Dortmund, isn't it? But I need to pull out some fire with my suggestions. I'm going to go 3-2 to Leipzig.
Wow.
There we go.
There we have it. Fair enough. A player that, you know, I thought probably could have come up in the first section, maybe Timo Werner at Leipzig, given the fact that the longer you don't play him, you know, the myth of him being a poor player sort of continues. When he's not, he's just a poor fit at Chelsea.
Especially with the like United links that were floating around last year. Like Leipzig would still be able to get a good fee for him, and like you're saying, he just isn't getting the game time.
Yeah, I mean, respect to both of these teams because they've pulled out some big results, or at least put City under huge pressure in the Champions League, and Dortmund have been excellent in the Champions League since that opening first 2 games. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think this might be quite interesting as well, Henry. I might go 2-2. Dortmund, Leipzig. Yeah, the Desmond.
I'm going to go for a Leipzig win as well, actually. I'm going to say 2-1.
Love it. Okay, let's move on to Barcelona versus Girona. Sunday, 8 p.m. 3rd versus 2nd. There's 4 points between them. Barcelona, crucial win against Atleti last weekend. XG had it at 3.2 to 1, which was the first time in 6 games they created over 2 XG. Really good, well, you know, big moment for João Felix, let's say, scoring that goal against his parent club. He'd only scored 1 in 16 prior to last week, then gets 2 in a week with that goal against FC Porto as well. Absolutely crucial because Lewandowski continues to really struggle, to be honest. I think he didn't get any of his 5 shots on target in this game as well. They are 4 points behind Real Madrid and their opponents Girona, so they really do need to win this, Barcelona, and I think they probably will. But huge props to Girona. Finished 10th last year. They'd been in the Segunda division for, I think, the previous 3 years, or at least the previous 4, actually. And this year, like, Dovbik's done really well. Christian Stuani at the age of 37. What a story that is. And then they got this left winger on loan from Troyes called Savio. He's got 4 goals and 4 assists. I think the City group owned Troyes as well, so they bought him. And then, you know, he's, you know, did well on loan at Girona, well, at the moment. And then, you know, who knows? Maybe he'll end up as the first person that really climbs up the City group ladder. Who knows? But yeah, I don't expect Girona to finish in the top 4. I don't think, but they are playing some very entertaining football.
They've kept pace for almost half the season now. Like I don't know. Like I wouldn't bet against it too much.
I just think player quality surely will come in at some stage. But yeah, I mean, I think on expected points they're the 5th best side, which probably feels about fair. But yeah, massive respect to Michel and his team for getting them to over-exceed by this degree. In this game, though, I think they might get a draw. I think it might be 1-1 at the Olympic Stadium.
The only games Girona have lost this year are against the big sides,
Real Madrid,
but even to draw away at Athletic Club the other day is no mean feat. And just on what you said there, they are owned by the City Football Group. If they're looking at this going, hold on, we can get Girona into the Champions League, we're in a title challenge, then I think in January they will have some money available to them. There will be an ability to do something. Like they are. This is probably as good of a shot Girona are going to have at winning their La Liga. Could be for decades. So I wouldn't back them to have a quiet January. They could, as you said, there could be some loose change knocking around the City Football Group. They'll just send their way. Anyway.
Also, if they are the 5th best by expected points or whatever now, and yet they've overperformed it so far, even if results start reverting to type, then they've already got quite a big buffer. They've got quite a big buffer there.
And so Athletic Club and Real
Sociedad,
and
so like 4th
like
place really is a big possibility in that sense. So yeah, but I think they would need to invest in January for sure. Because it's not the biggest
scoreline. I'm going to back a draw as well. I'm going to go 0-0. I'm sorry.
I was going to go 0-0, but I don't see it being actually. I know, yeah. Do I want to back the draw as well? I'll go for
I
might go for a Girona win. Actually, I just think Barcelona. Yes, they were much more impressive against Atleti.
That this points leaderboard does to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think Barcelona. Yes, they brought things back against Atleti, but Ter Stegen, huge miss. I think confidence-wise for that back line, that is a massive thing. They haven't had to really play without him for however long. Especially in the Xavi era. And, up until that Atleti game, Barcelona were not looking great. I think Girona will be bang up for this. Obviously, local rivals as well. So, yeah, I'll go for it. 2-1.
Love to hear it, guys. Get your predictions in for those 3 games in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching Continental Club for another week. We'll see you on Sunday with Sunday Vibes, live from... going to say the East Dulwich Tavern. Not the East Dulwich Tavern. Where was it called? Clubhouse 5. Our favourite place, the Wings. Excellent Wings. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you later. Bye-bye.